Welcome to my talk, Your Goat Antifragiled My Snowflake. All right, so who am I? I'm the DevOps practice lead at OmniTI. OmniTI does web and services, operations and development. So we do hosting, we do managed services, we do actually writing the application, we do operating lots of things, and we do the entire smeary, blurry mess of everything in between. We do a lot of brownfield work, a little bit of greenfield work, but most of it is stuff coming to us with a broken thing, and we make it not so broken. All right, so what do I do personally? I'm a chef architect, which means I go into places and tell them, oh, hey, the pain you're feeling from this particular way you're doing things is because of this, and you could do it differently and you'd feel different pain. I'm also an Ansible engineer, which means that I also do a lot of basic work in Ansible. I don't consider myself an architect in that. But mainly I'm a DevOps consultant. So if you believe that DevOps consulting is a thing that exists, that you could believe in that, well, then you can believe in me, because I go into places and talk to them about their culture, how they talk to each other, how they can reduce friction, that sort of thing. All right, I'm also the author of various bits of tooling and glue, mostly around infrastructure testing, pipeline bits of glue, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of stuff that I wrote when Test Kitchen wasn't as strong as it is today. So anyway, and it so happens that OmniTI is hiring. So I know it's hard to find a job in our market, but if you're looking, we're hiring. All right, so a quick disclaimer. So the whole thing of this speech is I'm going to go through and we're going to talk about a bunch of different words and what they mean. And a quick disclaimer about that, our perceptions of meanings may differ. And in fact, almost certainly will. You're only going to get my particular experience. But language is collaborative. This presentation reflects my own experiences and to a certain extent, the word usage of my clients. So, because our perceptions of meanings may differ, if you would like to contribute your experiences to the conversation, by all means do so. One specific place where you can do that is at devopsdictionary.com, which is a site I've created that I hope will eventually develop into a strong resource for the community. Right now it's fairly empty, but with your help, we can grow it into a comprehensive guide. It's just a basic media wiki site. So please feel free to go there and create yourself an account and start adding some content. And tell me where I'm wrong. All right, so why are we doing this? Who cares about words? Well, we care about words because of jargon. Jargon is language that is understood by a select few. In a negative sense, it's specialized language, which can be used for technical meanings or just for posturing. It's always opaque to people outside the intended audience. Jargon is always exclusionary. If you've ever had a loved one in the hospital, you might have had the experience of hearing doctors speak using terms you don't understand about your loved one. It's scary. You feel more alone, and you feel like you're not part of the process. But DevOps is about inclusiveness and bringing people together. So we want to help people feel part of the process. Whether someone has drunk the Kool-Aid or not, we should be able to communicate with them in terms that they can understand and engage with. There are a lot of different backgrounds in the room today, so you're going to hear, so we're going to go over some words that you might hear in the DevOps community in the hopes that some of these words we can move from the, ooh, that's bad jargon category to words that everybody can understand. All right? So, after a quick odd segue, let's get into the vocabulary and their definitions. So are you ready for some lexicography? Yeah? Yay! Lexicography. There are just so many words to choose from. I thought I would start off by grouping them by theme. So first I've got a whole bunch of animals, and then I've got a bunch of abbreviations, and then I've got a bunch of words that end in the word ups, and then I've got a bunch of stuff. That's the fourth category. So, aminals, a DevOps bestiary. There are so many words in DevOps that are animal themed. There's goat, there's chaos monkey, there's yak shaving, there's cattle, there's unicorn, canaries are a thing, elk, what's elk? Pets, that's a thing. I mean, that's just so many. Let's just dive in. First of all, goat. Goat. This is the goat, majestic in its natural habitat. A goat is a multifunctional individual who tends to ignore the silo boundaries of an organization. So a goat refers to a person. And it's generally a good thing within our community. You want to be called a goat. You're somebody who can go out and do a lot of different things. In the adjective form, you can say goat-like, or my favorite, caprine. So you can say, how caprine of you, Theodore. Anyway, it was coined by Michael Ducey in a 2013 slide stack called The Goat in the Silo. It's excellent. You should go watch it. You should go talk to him. He's in the room. It's awesome. It really helps you understand how individuals on the ground in an organization can bring about change. It's wonderful. All right, so using it in an example. When Billy needed to diagnose a database issue, he logged into the database server himself and poked around with his basic SQL skills before he went to the DBA. Next word, pets. Here's some cute little pets playing around inside a computer case. Pets are nodes or servers or instances that are lovingly hand-maintained. This is how we used to do it in like 2005, 2002, that sort of thing. They're lovingly maintained with long lives. This is usually said in the same breath as cattle. You'll hear pets versus cattle. I'll talk about cattle in a moment. The coinage of this is originally from Bill Baker of Microsoft, but it was sort of popularized by Gavin McCants, and then a couple more blog posts all happened at the same time, and there was a whole bunch of coinage stuff, and this is sort of where the dust settled on the attribution. So if you feel this is wrong, there is that site that you can go edit, at any rate. So a usage example might be, don't touch the LDAP server, that's Bob's pet. Cattle, again, majestic in their native habitat. Nodes are servers that are easily replaced, created and destroyed by automation. So it has an antonym, pets. A little bit on usage here, though, of pets versus cattle. So I personally happen to grow up on a beef farm. In other words, a place where you have cows that you do intend to kill one day, in southern Indiana. And I personally would never think of a cow's life in this sort of terms, of something that was easily replaceable and all that sort of thing. I agree that it's a powerful metaphor for node management, and we need a metaphor like this, but I just wish that we had a metaphor with which everyone felt comfortable and wasn't quite as vivid. So anyway, maybe you are the one who can make that new metaphor and distribute it to the community, which would be awesome. Be that person. Be the change you want to see in the world. All right. So cattle, a usage example. Did the memcache server go down? I'll just bring up another. They're just cattle. Unicorns? So many definitions of the word unicorn. There's just so many. It's crazy. I focused on two. I mean, there's also unicorn, the application container thing. But I'm focusing on two. There's Unicorn, the company. It's a company where DevOps just magically works. It's like got the right culture out of the box already. And also an impossible to satisfy job description. So for number two, it's not just the connotation that it's impossible to satisfy. It's also that the people doing the hiring think that there's something magical about that, oh, we need to bring in a magical person who's going to solve all of our problems. And they completely disregard all of the other things like culture and tools and timing and budget and communication and all the other things that make a person succeed or fail. So this is a word that has a lot of complicated near-related words. Direct antonym of both meanings is horse. So if you have a unicorn company, you can also have a horse company or a horse person. Horse here is almost always used as an insult or as a derogatory term, and it basically means not special. Oh, Bob, he's more of a horse. If Bob ever heard you say that and knew what horse meant, he would be very upset with you because nobody wants to be told that they're not special. Anyway, it's also, for the second definition, it can be sort of a partial synonym for rock star. Sometimes recruiters and things will say, I need a DevOps rock star. And rock star usually means somebody who's hyper-productive and hyper-specialized in one area. And if DevOps is a role, which is already a tenuous proposition, but if you agree with that, to say that you can be a DevOps rock star, somebody who's hyper-specialized in all areas of DevOps, that's not a thing. Anyway, it can be an alternative for goat. It can be the more positive way of saying goat. Or goat can be a more positive way of saying unicorn. You can say instead of hiring a unicorn, let's hire a goat. Anyway, the coinage is unclear, but by 2011 it was in widespread usage and usually in reference to Etsy. And, or at least for the company definition, I'm going to skip ahead a little. I feel like these are bogging down. Let's talk about canaries. Canaries, pretty bird, canary, pretty bird. Canaries, during deployment, a small group of nodes that receive the update first and then are watched closely. So one important thing to keep in mind, this is in production. This isn't like a separate staging environment or something like that. This is just a subset of nodes within the actual production environment. So canaries receive the change first. The history of this is from coal mining. When prior to the advent of electronic gas detectors, coal miners would bring in a little tiny canary in a little bird cage into the actual mine. And because canaries have little tiny lungs and little tiny brains, if they breathed any methane, they'd pass out first, or worse than pass out. And so the miners would say, hey, the canary died. Time to get out of here. But that's not the only place that it came from. There was also a 1981 hit single, Canary in a Coal Mine. Right now, at this very minute, someone can win one of these goats if they can name for me the band that sang Canary in a Coal Mine. Go. Goat time. Who's got it? There's a hand over there and words over here. What do you say, Doug? 2. Oh, I like this. Okay. All right. Issue the goat, sir. All right. I can't see hands at all because I've got blinders. All right. So I'm going to leave this procedure to Doug.
No, not Doug.
Anyway, yes, it was definitely stinging the police. Right here, man, Open Office, 2015, year of the open source software on the desktop. Right now, so we're supposed to have that album cover spinning up onto the screen. Just imagine it in your mind. All right. Example usage. Uh-oh, all the canary nodes have gained malevolent self-awareness. Let's roll back the deployment. That's canary testing. All right, so next one, Yak Shaving. Starting to solve a problem, only to find another problem that must be solved, and then solving that problem, and then trying to solve another problem that has to be solved, and then you're recursing forever, and it may or may not have even been necessary in the first place. The coinage, bizarrely enough, is actually from a 1993 episode of Ren and Stimpy. And then it went through the MIT AI lab in 2000, and I got all this information from the computer Jargon file, which is an excellent read. If you're in the industry and you haven't read that, it's so worth it. Anyway, an example usage. I started to look at that plugin gem thing, and then I needed to install a new Nokogiri, and that failed. Has anyone ever had Nokogiri compile on the first try? One hand, yeah. It's crazy. Anyway, so yeah, it turned into Yak Shaving. Like, to me, that's the classic Yak Shaving problem. Chaos Monkey. Chaos Monkey is software that randomly kills running instances as part of resiliency testing. Usually behind a load balancer is the idea. Or you could just do it. Whatevs. YOLO. All right. Coinage. This was a tool that was developed internally at Netflix and announced publicly in 2011 in a blog post. And then it was open sourced in 2012. It's actually part of a whole suite of tools called the Simian Army. They've got things for garbage collection and like knocking out an entire data center, all sorts of stuff like that. It does predate that. Excellent. DevOps dictionary, update the entry. Woo! Great. That's the farthest back I could find it. I totally believe you. Awesome. Elk. Let's just take a moment and appreciate this elk. I searched for a picture of an elk, and I found the happiest picture of an elk I could find. Elks are very, very dour. This is a very happy elk. He's having a bright day in the sunlight, eating some kind of berry blossoms. It's great. Elk, though, for us means Elasticsearch plus Logstash plus Kibana. It's an open source log aggregator and visualizer stack. It's often used for people that are aiming for the same sort of functionality as Splunk. So a quick show of hands, who thinks it is cheaper to run Elk than it is to run Splunk? All right. All right. Now, let's go the other way. Quick show of hands. Who thinks it's cheaper to run Splunk than it is to run Elk? Cheaper to go proprietary. All right. Not a lot of exposure, it looks like. That's cool. That's cool. It's a mixed bag, is what I've heard. I've been asking this question to like lots of people when I show them this stuff, and they've been like, "Oh no, you'd never run Elk," or "Oh no, you'd never run Splunk." I'm like, okay. I've never done it, so that's why I'm asking around. Let's skip that one. All right. So here, let's just do a quick segue away from the animals. Yeah. It's hitting. The comedy's hitting, everybody. All right. So let's talk about acronyms. Animals are all cute and fuzzy, but acronyms are just so alienating. There's so many acronyms and IT abrevs and things like UDA and TLA and ZDT and DSL and Kams, and that I only did 5 because I got tired of them. So let's start with ZDT. First of all, so many people have been telling me I have that they have no idea what I'm talking about. Who has heard of ZDT before? Raise your hand. You've heard of ZDT. I heard from my British guys. Okay. Not seeing a lot of other hands though. Okay. All right. So ZDT, as pictured here, obviously, is a Czechoslovakian agricultural equipment manufacturer. This is their top-of-the-line grain cart. That is, of course, what you find if you Google for it. That is not what it means in our area. It means zero downtime. Zero downtime referring to any deployment strategy that results in no apparent outage to the customer. Example usage might be, we can't miss a sale due to a maintenance window. Let's aim to have all the deployments from now on be ZDT. All right. Another goat one coming up. Are we going by voice or are we going by hand? What's the word, Doug? Hand. Okay, and you're watching for hand. Someone is watching for hands. Okay. Yes. All right, on this slide, a goat. A goat to the individual who can identify that game. A screen? Who? I heard it over here. Yes. I loved River Raid. All right. UDA. UDA stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act, which is a cognitive loop used in incident response and other high-speed, high-thinking type decisions. It can also be used in lots of other domains too, but today I'm just going to kind of hit on the incident response issue. So UDA, UDA was coined by USAF Colonel John Boyd in 1976 and developed extensively since then. I'll just tell a quick story from my own experience. This is just from 3 weeks ago. During a postmortem, this came up. I misread the axis labels on some monitoring stuff, and I said, "Oh no, we're having CPU spiking on this machine. We need to bring up more instances because this is a failure pattern we've seen before." So I said, "We have a CPU spike. We need to bring up more instances." Later on, that turned out to be completely false. I just misread the axis. But we used UDA to understand my cognitive processes at the time that I was observing and orienting, and those two phases I had errors. That I did correctly observe the numbers that I saw, but I misoriented. I saw a 0.6 on a percent column, on a percent axis, and I said, "Oh, that means 60%. No, it meant 0.6%, so 0.0. Yeah. Anyway, so we relabeled the axes. Yeah. Kams. Kams is a statement of the components of DevOps. So culture, automation, measurement, sharing. All right? It was coined by Damon Edwards and John Willis at DevOps Days Mountain View in 2010. Who here has not heard of Kams? All right. All right, I thought this one probably was fairly prevalent. All right. Moving on then. DSL. DSL, everybody remember DSL? Filters on your lines? Yeah. I'm sorry, man. So sorry. Hug ops. All right. DSL, but not that here. DSL stands for domain-specific language. It's a syntax and command set designed so that users can write in their own conceptual model. Classic example, we're at ChefConf. The classic example here would be the chef recipe DSL. It lets you write recipes that talk about packages and files and services and that sort of thing, instead of working more directly with Ruby concepts like Ruby classes and all that sort of stuff. TLA. Here I found the Google search for TLA came back with a tube leveling amplifier. I don't know, man. I've never needed to level my tubes. Yeah. So, but if I do, I know where to go. No, TLA means three-letter acronym. It's any acronym with 3 letters, obviously. Here's an example usage. In AWS, I use IAM to set ACLs on my EC2 instances in my VPC so they can reach SNS, SES, and S3. And as my boss, Robert Treat, pointed out, S3 is indeed a TLA. Despite the fact that it is only 2 letters long, a 2-letter abbreviation is also a TLA. Thank you for playing. And now, a quick segue. Gonna be here all day, guys. All right, so, all right, now after a quick segue, how about words ending in ops? Words that end in ops. What kind of words are those? Star ops, so coffee ops, you are hitting some of them, I will be, yes. So we got coffee ops, hug ops, chat ops, DevOps, heard of it, yeah, okay, that's all I'm gonna talk about. There are more, they're memes for crying out loud. Let's talk about coffee ops first. Coffee ops, it's a series of informal meetups at coffee shops and that sort of thing to talk about DevOps, operations, dev, the things in between, the QA in between, all that kind of stuff. Just some little meetups. It was started by Jennifer Davis in 2013 in Santa Clara. And now there's coffeeops.org. You can start one in your area. You can find one in your area. You know, it's great. They're informal. They're fun. Coffee ops. Hug ops. Hug ops. I just said hug ops a moment ago. So, hug ops is a meme reflecting empathy among engineers and people in the community, especially after an incident or a disagreement or personal tragedy or just really practically any time at this point. It was a Twitter hashtag from about 2012. I had a really hard time pinning down when this one started, but I believe this came from Jordan Sissel, Brandon Burton, and Adam Jacob. Anybody have any, no, that's not how it happened? Yeah. And now it's everywhere, so it's like a, anyway. Example usage. Clinton C. Wolf, so sorry to hear about how your talk is going. Hug ups. That's me, I'm Clinton C. Wolf. See, I'm making a joke here, and you may choose to laugh. It's cool if you don't. Whatever you need to do. Yeah, I'll get out later. Chat ops. Here's a screen cap of an IRC thing. Chat ops means using your text chat tool as an interface to your tooling. So you could be like, you could say like, oh, hey, build system, go build, or deploy this. You can talk to your bots and have them do your bidding for you. But not only does that happen then, they respond back to you in the same way. They give you status updates, outcomes, that sort of thing. And then the whole thing ends up being a log of your work. That's chat ops. It's a way of working. Of the star ops things, this is the most concrete and non-goofy, meme-y thing. This is a real thing. So the coinage, it appears to have emerged from GitHub in or around 2013. I found it in a slide stack by Jesse Newland, chat ops at GitHub. That's a pretty good slide stack. You should have a look. It got me thinking about more places I wanted to plug in things. I'll skip the example. It's not a great one. And here, guys, persons, everyone, folks in the room, you are going to be so excited about this because I am about to define DevOps on the next slide. You ready? You ready? All right. I'm going to define DevOps. No, I'm not, because the DevOps that can be spoken of is not the true DevOps. Yeah, everybody's like, oh, they all hate me a little more. No, because you hear so many different things. You hear DevOps is just culture, DevOps is just a job description, DevOps is just tooling, DevOps is just lean IT, DevOps is a movement. You hear so many different things. All of these things come from different perspectives, and in a way they're all true in their own different ways. You, the collective you, everyone here, get to define DevOps. Define it with each other, define it in your talks, define it in your unconferences, and define it, at places like DevOps Dictionary, where you can argue about what it means. So, please, do contribute if you'd like. All right. The coinage appears to be from 2009, Patrick Dubois, when he was starting the DevOps Days conferences in Ghent, at the mini-conference, unconference thing. So, that's at least when the term seems to have solidified, though the sort of practice and community was sort of forming perhaps a little bit before then. It's a little murky. All right. So, okay, one more fun segue. Yes. And now we're into the potpourri round. Potpourri round, we've got bike shedding, we've got Antifragile, we've got Snowflake, we've got the Sparkly DevOps Princess, and we've got Brent. All right, last bits. All right, Snowflake. A snowflake is a node that had manual changes applied to it outside of automation. It was coined by Martin Fowler in a 2012 blog post titled Snowflake Servers. And you can use it in many different ways. I like to use it as a verb to say, oh, you just snowflaked that thing, or this machine appears to have been snowflaked. But I love it even better as an adjective, like, yeah. 7 minutes? I've hit 25. Excellent. Thank you, sir. That's right where I need to be. I'm feeling pretty good. Thanks, guys. All right. That smells snowflakey. All right. Bike shedding. Now, as you've seen, as we've gone along through here, we're just going to do a real quick sort of blameless postmortem on the comedy. The comedy, as you can tell, has some problems. But in terms of process here, and this specific example I'd like to go into a bit, bike shedding. The comedy here is that these dogs, as you can see, are huskies, which is a cold climate dog. So they have a lot of fur. And in warm climates, they are going to shed a lot. Because they are on the bike, they are therefore bike shedding. Thank you. I'm in the wrong industry. All right. Bike shedding is to argue at length over a decision that is, in the end, simply arbitrary. It appears to have been coined from the BSD community in the mid-90s, arguing over what color to paint the house, or to paint the bike shed while the house is not yet even finished. That's from the computer jargon file, which I, again, highly endorse. I'll skip the example. It's not great. Antifragile. All right. Antifragile. Antifragile is the property of a system that is designed such that resiliency increases with damage. So the more bad things happen to it, somehow the stronger it gets. All right? And here I want to make clear that the system refers not just to the machines and that sort of thing, but also to the people and the processes involved. It was coined by Nassim Taleb in a 2012 book and introduced to the DevOps community by Jez Humble in a 2013 blog post, which is a great blog post. It's worth reading. The book's really good, too. That's a long example. So the example here is, last week a defect made it into production because we didn't test with production settings. Now we are testing across environments, and I almost hope that we have another failure so that we can keep making it anti-fragile, so that we can keep discovering what could possibly go wrong and then fix those things that could possibly go wrong. All right, Brent. Hello, my name is Brent. Who has heard of Brent? Who's Brent? Zero context. I'll give you a hint. You were reading a book at the time. Alrighty then, this will be a good one then. Brent. Brent is a character in the Phoenix Project who is needed on every task. This individual is a human bottleneck, and as they're modeling their constraints and their flow, they keep coming back to Brent, because every time that they want to move forward their important projects, they find that Brent is being sidetracked with other work that only he can do. So that's what Brent is. Also, I have a bad slide here. Defect. All right, usage example. I can't take a vacation because no one can replace me, and I have to be involved in every single task. It's like I'm becoming Brent. I have personally been a Brent before. Don't be a Brent. All right, Sparkly DevOps Princess, last term. Here we go. Sparkly DevOps Princess, threefold definition. Boom. An individual who has embraced their strengths and is confident in expressing their individuality. 2, a movement, an entire movement to encourage diversity and individuality within the industry. And then 3, I mean, just obviously anybody wearing a tiara, right? All right. So this was started by Jennifer Davis in 2012, along with Catherine Daniels and a few other friends, and then expanded, especially at VelocityConf in 2014, when there were tiaras issued. A usage example. I personally happen to consider myself a Sparkly DevOps Princess. I do several things that are unique, if you will. First of all, every single day, I love to wear my crazy socks. I wear crazy socks every day because it can't be a good day unless I'm wearing the crazy socks. The crazy socks have got to happen. Second thing that makes me an individual. Well, gosh, I'm an Emacs user. It's 2015. Let's run some Emacs. Yeah, Emacs user. And of course, or Tierra. Ta-ta. Feels great. All right. Last bit. It's called Ask Me Anything. All right, so in this portion, what we're going to do is Doug here has a bag of goats. Goat. You're going to freeform Ask Me Anything for the remainder of our time. Hit me up with a term, a question, anything like it. And if you stump me, which is highly likely, I brought a lot of goats. If you stump me, you get a goat. Let's do it.
Like to ask, we'll bring the mic around.
Now, we're at a conference, so you've heard people speaking, and they've said words to you, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to act like I know that.
You want to do it? All right.
Those kind of words.
All right, this is an easy one. Grapevine.
What's that?
Grapevine.
Grapevine. I got nothing other than, like, I heard it on the grapevine.
Yep, rumor mill.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, then I'm batting 1,000. Yeah. I think let's just give out goats. Let's just incentivize the process here. Whether you stump me or not, you're getting a goat for asking a question.
It's not really a question. It's figured I'd share from the financial industry. It came out of Morgan Stanley. It's a lovely thing called the failed deployment monkey. It was an actual monkey that got to sit on the desk of the last person to fail a deployment.
I'm assuming this is some kind of like statue or something, not like an actual mammal.
Not a live monkey, no.
Okay.
It's like one of those, looks like one of those from some Southeast Asian 1950s adventure movie kind of statue thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it was the monkey of shame.
That's awesome. Well, I'll share with you oh, we got one here. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sure. I heard one yesterday. It was I believe it was a resume generating event. Yeah, I had never heard that one before. Yeah, which is apparently a screw up of significant magnitude that. Yes, career impact event. Yes, that will. Yes.
So in my organization, because one of the things I do, especially when I attend company events or whatnot, is I'm always clad in my kilt, and so I've mentioned kilt ops, that we all should be wearing kilts. And so how do we make kilt ops a mainstream word?
Well, use it and issue kilts.
Okay.
I mean,
Issue kilt, I like that.
I mean, look at this. The tiaras are taking off, man.
All right.
Anyone? Now just think, you could have a goat, and it's got stickers on it that aren't just from me. There's stickers from other people as well. And the goat, I should point out, has a little tiny kerchief on that says chef. This is like the most twee precious thing, and it could be yours right now. Right there. There's one.
Hello. I heard this today, discussion. Someone said that they had a purple squirrel.
Oh, just the opposite of any kind of clue. Wow. No idea.
Me either. I was just wondering
anyone,
if you ever...
open to the room. Purple squirrel is the term. Purple squirrel. Anybody got it? You know it? It was what? It's same as a white elephant. Is that what you're saying? It's a right, yeah. Huh. Okay. Right, yeah. So, but what if you end up with a white squirrel and a purple elephant? I mean, it's...
All right, we got another one.
All right, there's another one here.
Oh. I actually cheated and looked up purple squirrel on Wikipedia. It turns out it basically means the same thing as unicorn. A job candidate that doesn't exist. Like perfect job candidate, meets every criteria imaginable.
My boss and I were talking about that as a definition of unicorn. So. All right. Bring it.
I think we forgot about monkey patching.
Monkey punch?
Monkey patching. Patching.
Oh, monkey patching. Oh, yeah, I know that one. Yeah, that's...
Everyone knows that.
Oh, okay. Well, to explain, monkey patching, so I was a longtime Perl developer, and then I became a Ruby developer. And one thing that's true about both languages is that it is easy to modify libraries that you have loaded. So you can load existing libraries, and then you can redefine parts of them. You can change what a method does or that sort of thing. Someone who does that is monkey patching. And it's a dangerous practice, but it's also a very get-it-done-today kind of practice. Yes, and it definitely does. So long as you can ensure that no one else is using your code base for any other purpose, it's not a shared library, it's kind of safe-ish, but you'll still regret it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Chef does it, you can do it too. You heard it here.
So I don't have a term, but I'm wondering if we should invent one.
Sure.
Trying to understand idempotency, what would its antonym be?
Right.
You know, so
no,
you can explain to somebody what that is.
I mean, I've heard non-idempotent. I mean, that's honestly what I use in conversation. Oh. Yeah, I agree. We need a word for that. Nothing's springing to mind. But, yeah. Changeable or change-sensitive. Yeah, something. Mm-hmm. Something about change. Flux. We can use flux as a root in there and fluctuated. Oh, that's terrible. You know what? I'm going to save it for Jennifer. That's cool. All right. This wasn't here, everybody. You never saw the last goat.
Do you ever encounter self-healing in the chef?
Why, self-healing? I so happen to work on operating systems that claim to be self-healing, such as the Illumos line and OmniOS. Yes, in fact, self-healing is a property in which, over time, either the configuration management system or other forces in play will bring a system that is out of spec back into spec through convergence of some kind. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Because I'm getting bored up here, man. All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much. I'll be up here. I got more stickers if everybody feels like they didn't have an opportunity to get a sticker, and all that. So thank you very much for your time. This has been a blast.